Chapter 12. Homeward Bound. The We're Here was racing neck and neck against the Perry Norman to fill up first with a full load of cod. The struggle was so close that the fleet took sides and bet tobacco. Everyone fished or dressed down, and it became a regular matter to fall asleep at the pen with a half-clean cod and a knife in one's hands. Harvey was stationed in the hold to pass the salt, and the cook was taught to pitch the cod. Luckily, a Perry Norman man sprained his ankle, and the We're Here gained the advantage. By this time, Harvey did not see how another fish could be crammed into the We're Here, but Disco and Tom Platt stowed and weighed the mass down with heavy boards and stones. Every night, Disco would announce just one more day's work. The crew didn't know that all the salt was wet until Disco began hauling out the big mainsail at 10 o'clock one morning. Soon dories from the rest of the fleet were coming alongside with letters for the We're Here to carry home. At last the We're Here hoisted her flag, her right belonging to the first ship off the banks. She up-anchored and began to move. Disco, pretending he wished to accommodate folks who had not got their mail to him, sailed gracefully in and out among the schooners. In reality, this was his little triumphant procession, one he had been able to make for 5 years in a row. Dan played his accordion while Tom Platt sang the song that was forbidden until all the salt was wet. Hi-yi-yo-ho, send your letters round. All our salt is wetted and the anchor's off the ground. The last letters were pitched on deck, wrapped around pieces of coal. Men from Gloucester shouted messages to their wives and owners. Then we're home, headed west by south for home. Harvey soon discovered how different it was to sail with heavy sails from under light sail as they had been doing. Now there was a bite and kick to the wheel. Alongside, the streaming line of bubbles made his eyes dizzy. Disco kept them busy fiddling with the sails to gain every bit of speed. In spare moments, they pumped for their packed fish dripped brine. Since there was no fishing, Harvey had time to watch the splendid upheaval of a red sunrise or the wind herding clouds across the sky. He also had time to eat donuts and lie on the deck with bare feet and arms, talking aimlessly to Dan. Dan predicted, "Next Sunday, you'll be hiring someone to throw water on your bedroom windows ashore so you can get to sleep. Do you know what the best part of getting ashore is?" Since his eyebrows were all white with dried spray, Harvey guessed, "A hot bath?" "That's good, but a nightshirt's better," replied Dan. "Ma'll have a new one for me, all washed soft. You know, I think I'm beginning to smell the bayberries. I guess you'll stay with us until your folks can come for you?" Harvey nodded happily. They came into Gloucester Harbor in a wild summer storm. The lightning flickered off and on and lit up the low circle of hills around the harbor, the fish sheds, and the houses. Because it was the middle of the night, Disco whispered his orders that led them to Wouverman's Wharf. They skirted moored tugs from which came the sound of snoring. Disco nosed the We're Here into a pocket of darkness where a lantern glimmered on either side. There, the night watchman wakened with a grunt and threw them a rope. They made fast to a long, silent wharf lined with large, empty iron-roofed sheds. The darkness and the silent procession of the We're Here toward home had built up a tension in Harvey unlike any he had ever known. He felt the land close around him once more, with all of its thousands of people asleep. He smelled the earth after rain, and heard the familiar noise of a switching engine coughing in a freight yard. All these things made his heart beat fast and his throat dry up. Sitting down by the wheel, Harvey Shane sobbed as though his heart would break. Just before dawn, a tall, smiling woman came along the wharf and dropped down into the boat. She was Dan's mother and had seen the We're Here by the lightning flashes. Kissing Dan once on the cheek, she didn't notice the sobbing Harvey until she had heard his story from Disco. Then, as dawn broke, she led them to Disco's house. Harvey suddenly felt like the loneliest boy in America, but he was relieved to see that neither Disco nor Dan seemed to think any the worse of him for crying. As soon as the telegraph office opened, Harvey sent a wire to his parents. Later, he received one which he showed only to Dan. Wouverman, the wharf owner, was not ready to accept Disco's prices, but since Disco was sure that the We're Here was at least a week ahead of any other fishing boat, he held to his prices, knowing he could afford to wait a few days until they were accepted. The crew enjoyed their leisure, but everything was not peaceful. Dan went about with his freckled nose in the air and full of mystery treated everybody, including his family, in a superior manner. Finally, Disco could tolerate it no longer. "I am of the opinion that a beating might be overdue," he told Dan. "You've been a heap too fresh since we came ashore." Backing away from his father toward the front of the house, Dan called out, "You're welcome to your own opinion, just as I'm welcome to mine. And what's more, I'm not one to make a misjudgment after I've been told different. So we'll just wait and see who is mistaken." Disco shook his head and sighed. "You're getting as crazy as poor Harv. You two go around giggling and kicking and pinching each other till there's no peace in the house." After this exchange, Dan and Harvey took the trolley to East Gloucester, where they tramped through the bayberry bushes to the lighthouse, laughed explosively from time to time. One would set the other off until they had to lie on the big red boulders, their sides aching from laughing. And inside Harvey's pocket, the telegram from his father heated up like a shell, ready to burst.